Well, hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. I've enjoyed our past couple of weeks talking about social emotional learning in the classroom and at home. Today is really just about an implementation plan. So, Shauna, I probably should download this and well, I will download this and get it to you. I probably should have given it to you before this call, which I totally forgot about. So, we'll just kind of be looking at it from our screen here, and you can just jot down things on a piece of paper. But what we were supposed to do today is kind of just do a little bit of an assessment, reflect on things that we do well, where we want to, improve, and then kind of look at this little plan on, how we can do these things. So how we can make it better in our learning environment, how it could be better support in the home. What are some possible Ready Rosie videos that we could use to support us, or maybe a Ready Rosie workshop, or maybe something from that teaching strategies webinars that we discussed. So let's just kind of review those social emotional learning competencies that they're listed here. So we'll just review those, and then we'll do a little bit of reflection and a little bit of planning on ways that we can utilize Ready Rosie to support us, ways that we can do things, how they can be better supported in the home and at school. So with self-awareness, that was the ability to accurately recognize one's emotions, thoughts, and their influence on behavior. Self-management, the ability to regulate one's emotions, thoughts, and behaviors in different situations. Why is self-awareness on here too? That's not right. The ability to see the perspective and emphasize with others, diverse backgrounds and cultures, and to recognize family, school, and community resources and support. What's that one supposed to be? Now I'm getting things wrong. Hold on.
Or is this social awareness?
That one's, oh, duh. Thank you.
Yeah.
Geez, too many S's. Relationship skills, the ability to make and keep healthy and rewarding relationships with diverse individuals and groups, and then responsible decision making, the ability to make constructive and respectful choices about their own behavior and interactions with others. So what we're supposed to do, and I feel like we kind of already did this self-assessment last week when we talked about what we do well and areas that we need for improvement. So I don't feel like we need to go through each of these again, maybe just reflect, when you reflect on the training, think about this, which of these do you do well and which ones do your families do well? So why don't we start with families, because we kind of went over ourselves last week and which of these we did well. We talked about that. Maybe it was the week before. So why don't we scroll down to families? So thinking about social emotional learning in the home, which of these do you think that they do well in the home, and which areas would they need support to do better in the home?
Yeah, and can you scroll down to where it has the
Yeah.
descriptions?
Yeah. So we're thinking about the families that we work with, and which ones do you think that it's going well in the home, and which ones do you think they could use help with in the home? I'll just use an example from when I was teaching, and I told you I taught fifth grade, so I was not in your shoes teaching young children, but I saw a lot of these same types of things. And I would say the thing that I think families could have used support with was probably responsible decision making. Um, I taught at taught various places, but the last teaching job I had was in an area with a lot of, I guess you would call them helicopter parents, where they were always trying to rescue their child and prevent there being from any type of consequences for their behavior. or anything that they did. And so the child never really had an opportunity to make their own decisions on things and see the consequences of their decisions. So when I was teaching fifth grade, the last job I had, for me, I saw a need for support with responsible decision making. Relationship skills is what Penny said, that they do well with relationship skills. Excellent. Anyone else want to share anything that you feel like your families do well, or something they could use support with?
I think the families that I work with, they need to be more like responsible decision making. They always want to ask their kids to do what they want to do instead of giving them choices.
Mhm.
And the other one is like, I don't know in which category we fit, but it's just like praising them or in a positive way of well, they have the ability to like tell them about their emotions, basically. It's just like labeling the emotion. Oh, you're happy because of this and giving them more detail. They just say, good job, and that's it, but they don't give more than that. So I think they need to work on that too.
Excellent. So maybe I could see that either being social awareness or even self-management, ability to regulate. But you're talking, it's not the regulating emotions, it's more, or it could be relationship skills, just like giving them, instead of just saying good job, saying, you did really, really like the way that you XYZ or something like that. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes,
Just
giving
builds a
more
little bit on what
descriptive. Yes.
Anna was saying in my experience is that I think what we're saying is the same thing too. Like if a child's crying or upset, they're just like, oh, stop, but not really like getting into the why are you upset? What are some options? Why did that make you feel that way? Like being able to name the emotion, like are you sad? Are you scared? Are you mad? Are you, that thing? And it's just like, oh, just stop crying. Just stop crying, which
Yeah.
first, if you knew why they were crying, then maybe you could help them figure out how to stop and, implement some strategies to start building on some emotional management. But I always felt like that was the hardest part. Like they just like, oh, just stop crying or stop whining. Instead of naming the like why the piece to the why they are.
Or even saying, um, use your words and
Mhm.
words, they don't have that words and they need to work on that and telling them the words that they want to hear. And so they can learn how to express themselves and their needs.
Yeah, didn't we, let me pull back up. Let me stop sharing this real quick and pull up. I feel like we even saw something on that ages and of development where a child could even use words to express their emotions. It was not something that they can immediately do. It's a developmental thing where they're able to even express their emotions with words. So sometimes I feel like maybe we're asking children to use their words instead of crying or whatever, but they're it's not even developmentally able to do that yet. Let me pull up that so we can reference the two. There we go. Let's see. Okay. Mhm. Okay, so let's see, where was it where I feel like it was, I remember seeing it on here. Does anyone see about when they're able to start expressing their emotions? I know I'm not making this up. I swear I remember seeing this.
Like between 3 and 4 says verbalize a wider range of emotions.
Ah, thank you. Yes. So, yeah. thank you, start to show and verbalize. It doesn't mean that they've mastered that, but they're not even able to start it until then. So excellent. So if we're thinking about, and Penny had a few comments in there as well, saying that sometimes we just say things like, you're okay, you're fine, and kind of dismiss their feelings. Or not us, but families often do that, which I know we all see that. And I'm pretty sure I was guilty of doing that at one time in my life with my own young children, when a moment of frustration. What about anything that we said, Penny had said that her families do relationship skills well. Anyone else have thoughts on things their families do well?
Yeah, I think that my families do pretty well in identifying the emotions. So saying, I think my child is sad or hungry or tired. But again, I do think then like that next piece of connecting that to a behavior or to the self-regulation skill, I feel like that's an area that could still be grown. So yeah, I think like they're there to like identify them, but then I think like getting that information why it's important to identify those emotions is like another step to do.
Excellent. Anyone else? And then we're going to hop over to the Ready Rosie website too and look at some things that we can use as how possible Ready Rosie tools or model moments to support. And hopefully we can get in. The Ready Rosie website was down this morning. I was panicking. I was like, I hope it's back up for this training. I think it is though. Okay, well, the next part of this little activity, and I'll be sending this to Shauna afterwards, and you can take some time on your own to also explore Ready Rosie and find some different avenues to support some of this. But let's take a moment. We said a few things that reminded me of some of the research and answer videos that we have. Has anyone ever watched any of the research and answer videos inside of Ready Rosie that around some of these topics? So they're the research and answer videos are like experts in the field talking to families about things like, how can I get my child to listen to me, or how do I deal with a temper tantrum? Has anyone ever seen those? Well, they are in the library there's a category called research and answers. And you can see all of them by clicking all research and answer videos, or there's challenging behaviors, digital literacy, discipline, family health and well-being, home language, literacy, math, responsive parenting, school and family partnerships, and social and emotional learning. So these are different than the social and emotional learning videos that are modeled moments. These are more social and emotional learnings videos that you can share with families, that are meant for families to hear from an expert in the field. So let's take a look. Although these don't look like social and emotional learning to me. Let's see. This look like home language. Hold on.
Are they done in Spanish too?
So good question. I believe that they all have Spanish
Subtitles, the caption ones?
yeah, but I think if we pop over to Spanish, now this particular gentleman, I think might be speaking in Spanish, and then it has English subtitles, but we'll double check.
Okay.
So this particular video, and we're going to look at some others, but this one it tells me that this is about family health and well-being, home language, social, emotional, and literacy. And it's about, how learning should be a joyful experience. So let's take a look at this one, but then I've got some others in some other categories I want us to view.
Uno de los privilegios que tenemos como educadores es tener un día de alegría con los niños. Al ellos entrar a la puerta, hasta el momento que ellos salen, es aprendizaje, aprendizaje, aprendizaje. Como modelos para ellos, hablamos un idioma bien, sea el español, inglés o ambos. Dale nuevas experiencias, nuevas ideas y nuevos retos. El aprendizaje debe ser una experiencia de alegría. Si me siento bien, voy a tener confianza y todas mis experiencias van a ser positivas. ¿Qué mejor que eso?
That was short to the point. So that one was, he does speak in Spanish and there's English subtitles. So it's kind of varies back and forth between those. But we said something earlier that made me think about one of the videos in the research and answer videos about, let me see if I can find it. It might have been under challenging behaviors, maybe. Let me look. This one, behavior is a form of communication.
All behavior is some form of communication. When a little baby goes, they mean pick me up. When they cry, it says check on something. All of a sudden, when they get to be 2 and they go like this, we go stop it. But if all behavior is some form of communication, we need to hear it through the lifespan. So if a child throws something on the floor and starts screaming, they're saying, I don't know how to handle frustration. So then we need to help them with that. So all behavior is some form of communication. If we stop the communication, we miss what's going on with the child and we can't teach the missing skill. And you can imagine if they grow up without these skills, then we'll be shocked when they're 15, 16, and 17 doing something that we think, whoops, I wish you learned that when you were young.
Isn't that the truth, that last line? So that could be an example when someone gave an example that, you know, we kind of dismiss when a child's trying to express their emotions, when they can't verbalize it. And oftentimes parents just dismiss it and say, stop it. That could be a good video that you could share with them. It's a research and answer video that you could, you know, click that share button. Maybe it was John's mom or dad that expressed that they don't know what to do when they throw something on the ground or they're trying to express themselves. So there's other research and answer videos. Oh, Penny says that she sent one of these to her families about screen time. Excellent. Let's take a look at another one around challenging behaviors. If anyone sees one they'd like me to show, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just choose my favorites from here. This one specifically is around challenging behaviors.
Screen time battles would be a really good one, which because how often do we see and even ourselves like solve a behavior issue with putting a screen in front of a child's face or a meltdown when you take a screen away. Can you see that one, Melissa?
Absolutely. So this is from Dr. Chip Donahue. He was at the Erickson Institute at one time. I think he moved somewhere in your area, I believe. But the Erickson Institute was really like revolutionary in talking about screen time and setting limits and how much screen time is okay. So this is from him.
So being a parent of a young child, of a preschooler, it can be challenging, and there are always these back and forth tussles between what you want them to do and what they want to do. It's your job as a parent to know what needs to be done. It's their job as a 4-year-old to fuss a little bit and push back. That's going to happen. That's not unique to new media. But parents seem to really be struggling when children do get engaged in interactive media and don't want to stop. So there are a couple of strategies, I think. One is to understand that these devices have an on and an off switch, and you're the one in charge of that. So when the device is on, there's a period when it's on and there's a period when it's off. I also think it's really respectful to children to foreshadow the off is coming, right? And to talk about, well, 10 more minutes on the device and then we're going to do whatever, or to turn that into a question. What are we going to do when we turn the device off? What can we do? How can we keep the game going? What are we going to do outside, right? Really make the alternatives clear. And then I think it's about a whole family meeting media ecology in the home. How's media being used? Who's using it? Where is it being used? Why is it being used, right? Really asking yourself some questions about media in the home, because if it's turn off the device time for the child but not turn off the device time for the parent at the dinner table, for example, then that sends a very confusing message, and actually will send a strong message that is, media belongs at the dinner table. If you believe it doesn't, then I think everybody's got to be in on that.
Don't you love him? I think that that's really powerful. Two things he said that I really thought was powerful. One, giving that foreshadowing. And as a former math teacher, I don't think saying 10 more minutes makes a lot of sense to a small child, but being able to say, like, when you've got a little bit more time on this, and then when we're done, we're going to, and then explain what's going to happen after the off happens, because I think that anticipation of that off, is what causes that anxiety, I guess. And then I love also what he said, that if it's no devices at the dinner table, then that has to stand true for the family, the parent, whoever that adult is as well, because that sends a mixed message. But that's another one I think would be great to share with families.
I learned yesterday, I was in this class, that since they don't have a sense of time, it's good to use the word first and then, and if we match it with an image, is easier for a child to understand. First you eat your meal, then when you have a picture of going outside. And then instead of using the time, because right now they, like you said, they don't have sense of time. So I really like that. And that's one of the things that I'm planning to work with my families, to use the words first and then, instead of using the time right now.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that would apply to this too, right? Like, first, you're going to, play your game or whatever on the device. Then we're going to whatever that is. So when it's time to take that device away or turn it off, they're not hopefully throwing a fit, or, it's not disrupting their world so much, because they know that there is something after it.
And the key, I think, it will be that the parent needs to be consistent. And if they say that they're gonna do it, do it. Like in the video, he said not to give them wrong messages, and then to keep up so they can follow and they can do it again, and then start trusting the adult. And then whenever they want to apply something different, that will help them. The child will follow what they will do, what the parent is asking.
Absolutely. Yep. So that's something that we can take away, that, teaching our, encouraging our families to use that type of language in the home, the first, then, and talking, even applying that to screen time. Excellent. Any other videos around challenging behaviors before I move on to the next category?
Does anybody want to watch How Can I Get My Child to Behave Better? Let's try that one.
Existe la creencia que si el niño se siente mal acerca de lo que hizo, si el niño le duele, lo va a hacer diferente. Entonces, por eso es que damos a veces castigos a los niños. Vamos a cambiar esto. Esto no es lo que le ayuda al niño. Para que un niño lo haga diferente, no se tiene que sentir mal. De hecho, vamos a empezar, primero que nada, con ver sus errores desde un punto de vista mucho más compasivo. Eso solo va a ocurrir en la medida que nosotros como adultos nos podamos vivir de una manera más compasiva cuando cometemos un error. Solo cuando yo en mi cabeza me puedo ofrecer empatía al cometer un error, y lo puedo practicar, voy a ser más compasivo con los errores de los niños. Y después, más que hacerte pagar, voy a estar ahí para ayudarte, para darte habilidades, para mostrarte el impacto de tus acciones, pero también que tú aprendas cómo hacerlo diferente. Por eso es que esta nueva disciplina, esta disciplina consciente, es acerca de: te voy a dar habilidades, te voy a decir cómo hacerle en las diferentes situaciones, para que entonces tú ya sepas de dónde tomar y de dónde hacerlo diferente. Lo triste es que muchas veces como padres y como maestros, justo cuando algún problema de disciplina ocurre, acabamos modelando justo la conducta que quisiéramos eliminar. Entonces queremos que el niño deje de gritar y le decimos cosas como: aquí no se grita, dejas de gritar. Nosotros gritando. O a mamá se le trata con respeto, a tu maestra la respetas. Y cuando finalmente nosotros no estamos modelando respeto, le estamos diciendo al niño, cuando las cosas no van como uno quisiera, uno puede faltar al respeto. Cuando las cosas no van como uno quiere, uno puede hacer un berrinche. Cuando las cosas no van como uno quiere, uno se puede frustrar y sacar su frustración en los demás. Entonces empecemos por ser modelos de comportamiento. No tenemos que hacer, que no les tiene que doler para cambiar, nada más tengo que modelarles una manera diferente, practicar con ellos una manera diferente, dándole las habilidades que son finalmente, ahora sí que la caja de habilidades que después él va a tener de dónde sacar cuando se enfrente con sus propios conflictos, con sus propias frustraciones, pero solo nosotros siendo esas personas que queremos que nuestros niños sean.
Anybody glean anything from that video that you think could be helpful for families?
All of it. I wish I had that, as I was parenting young children. It's hard. I love that. I did see something the other day, and I don't remember where I read it, but it was like, I hope when my children mess up or make a mistake, their first thought isn't, oh my goodness, my parents are going to kill me. They said, I hope their first thought is, I need to go find my parents so they can help me. Which, yeah, I mean, and that she just explains it so well in that conscious discipline. So I love that video.
Yeah, me too. This is you would think I've seen all the Radio Rosie videos. I have not seen this one, but it really hit me hard when she said, you can't tell a child, you can't be screaming at a child not to scream when they're frustrated. How you're modeling that behavior is what they're seeing. So yeah, I thought that was pretty awesome. So again, all of these are still videos that you can share with families. They're a little different than the modeled moment videos. These are actual experts speaking directly to families. And they're in here in the library under research and answers. We looked at challenging behaviors. There's also some around discipline, which we kind of already watched. Most of what we saw. Behavior is a form of communication. I think I've shown the stop fighting one to you before, but maybe not. Maybe it was temper tantrums.
Are you going to show one more video?
Sure. Which one would you like to see? Do you want to see one of these or another one?
Yeah, no, one of these. I want to see, how do I get my child to?
Okay.
Please.
Yes, absolutely. I just love Dr. Becky Bailey anyway.
When I say, parents, just ask me anything, they'll say, how do I get my child to stay in their own bed, finish eating their dinner at the table, do their homework? One of the problems with this is we're asking the wrong question. If we say, how do I get/make, we're going to think of all the things that are coercive or manipulative to try to force them into being compliant. So the first thing you want to do is change your question. How do I help my child more likely be successful at staying in their own bed, more likely be successful of completing their homework? And then brainstorm in your head. Maybe if I had a certain time, a certain area, that they could sit and provide the supplies for them and help them and coach them. So then we shift from punishing kids because I couldn't make you behave to helping children be successful in behaving, and then we can encourage them. So one way we go to bed, we feel bad about ourselves as parents. The other way we go to bed and think, boy, I nailed that today.
So for that one, any thoughts? Sounds like maybe just shifting our mindset on what we're asking.
That was basically what she was saying.
Mhm. And I was just on the other video, like the modeling, I think this one goes a lot with that, like how we need to teach those skills. Like I know we've heard it a lot of times that the parents are the first teachers, and I think that one just speaks to that parents are teaching these skills. And I think sometimes parents have these expectations, but they've never taught the kids that skill. So it's like, so first it's about helping through that process of learning too.
Yeah, absolutely. Trying to see if there's any others. I'm going to pop through a few of these. This one might be good. This helping with separation. That was one of those on the ages and stages. There's a certain point where they start to experience that separation. If you recall when we talked about that.
Often when we leave our child, maybe with a babysitter or drop them off in childcare, they have a trouble separating from us. So there's several things you can do. One, make it very predictable and take pictures of the steps. We're gonna get in the car, we put on our seatbelt, I'm gonna take you in, I'm gonna hand you over to Miss Susan, and take pictures of that and make it into a book and read that book every day to the child. And as you read the book, they'll get familiar with the process. Then, when you leave, have a ritual of leaving. So you leave them in their hand and say, I'm gonna give a kiss to your elbows. And then you change that. I'm gonna give a kiss to your nose the next day. You need to have an ending ritual. And once that ritual's over, you turn and walk away. Then you need to help the child care provider or the person you leave them with say, you're safe. I'm gonna keep you safe until mommy returns.
Has anyone ever done that? I've never thought of that. It kind of also reminded me of the first then that we just talked
I
about.
did because this is one of the process to like repair a relationship. It's a good through love and logic training, and that helps to repair your relationship with your child. Start a ritual of saying goodbye, and when they see each other after work or school, as like have another ritual or before bedtime to establish one again to giving a kiss or hugging or saying good, have a good day. And it works for me, and I really like that. But and we try the kiss in the cheek and or a blessing, and they're good to go. And and when I pick them up, I was like, I can't wait to see you again. I was able to say that. I would practice that. I miss you. I hope you have a great time. You know, you want to share what you guys did during the day, and that really helps to repair it. And also support and connect more with our relationship with a child.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. I never had the opportunity to go through love and logic, but I always heard great things about it when I started teaching. Anything else on the research and answer videos before I go to another category? So those were for families, those research and answer videos. We also have, which we've looked at these the last, I think the first week we met, we looked at some of these, but just a reminder that we do have those videos under, there's a social and emotional learning category that goes over those competencies. So videos to model for families what relationship skills can look like, to model for families what responsible decision making can look like, to model self-awareness, self-management, and social awareness. I believe we watched some of these last time, so we don't necessarily have to go through each of these. So I just want to remind you that we do have those categories, and when you're on your own, and I give this implementation plan to Shauna, you can look at some of these research and answer videos, or look at some of these videos for families under the social emotional learning category to see if how Ready Rosie might be able to support you if there are some areas that your families could use some extra support in for any of these competencies. I also want to highlight this is specific to only educators. So families are not going to see this tab called professional development, but you do see this. And so we watched this one, How to Fall in Love with a Challenging Child, during one of our sessions, but you might find some videos here, and these are specifically for you to help you as you're in the classroom. So they're not all necessarily around social and emotional learning, but you might find some supports for you as an educator to help you think of it as videos for you. They all say educators, they're for you. We can watch this one on stopping unhelpful behaviors.
La pregunta número 1 de las maestras por lo general tiene que ver en cómo paro este comportamiento. Este niño hace esto, ¿cómo paro? En realidad lo importante aquí es darle una vuelta desde la pregunta. No vamos a parar el comportamiento. Número 1, el comportamiento es una forma de comunicación. Cuando un niño se está comportando de una manera, quiero ver qué me quiere decir este comportamiento. Si yo paro el comportamiento, estaría parando la comunicación. Y entonces, una vez que tengo este comportamiento del niño, más bien voy a buscar el cómo le ayudo a manejar estas cosas que lo detonan, que hacen que se comporte así. Entonces, aquí lo importante es ver qué es lo que detona el comportamiento del niño, y cuando esto ocurra, llegar yo a la situación ayudándolo primero que nada ofreciendo intención positiva a la situación. Vamos a decir que el niño le pegó a alguien, que son las cosas que más irritan a las maestras, no agresiones dentro del salón. El niño le pegó a alguien, me acerco primero que nada con una intención positiva, porque eso me va a ayudar a mantener al niño tranquilo y en un estado de su cerebro que va a poder ser receptivo y listo para aprender alguna habilidad. Entonces me acerco y le digo, por ejemplo, querías hacerle saber lo enojado que estabas. Querías decirle que tú querías ser el primero en la fila y se te olvidó qué hacer y lo empujaste. Tú querías y siempre ver la parte positiva en esto. Ya después de esto le voy a poner el límite y le voy a decir, no puedes empujar lastima, no puedes pegar lastima, no puedes insultar molesta, para que se den cuenta del impacto que sus acciones tienen en las demás personas, para después moverme a enseñarles la habilidad. Pero si se fijan, todo esto lo estoy manteniendo en un marco donde el niño no tiene que pagar por lo que hizo, sino lo veo como un niño que está buscando habilidades, que a través de su comportamiento me está diciéndome, enséñame porque no sé cómo hacerlo diferente. Entonces finalmente acabo enseñando la habilidad. Cuando quieras esto, haz esto. Pide ayuda. Di, Miss, necesito tu ayuda. Di, no me gusta cuando me tratas así. Pero regresamos, no puedes pegar lastima.
Lots of similarities, right, between that and the what was it called? How do I get a child to stop, or something like that? Any other thoughts on that video? And again, that was from the professional development area for teachers.
That's great for biting. I have heard a lot of people saying that their kids bite, and that's a good one for biting because it's frustrating when the parents share with you and say, I feel embarrassed because my kid bites, and when I go pick up at the daycare, they always have like a note or report saying that he bit the child, and then we're trying to explain the parent too that not to punish the child, and it's a good one too for us to talk to them.
Absolutely. So those are all resources that we have when we're looking at our implementation plan that I'll be giving to you. I'll be sending to Shauna, but this is like, again, we're just looking at some possible Ready Rosie tools or modeled moments to help us with these competencies and things that you might want to share with families. So in the last part I want to look at, and we've looked at these before, but I just kind of want to look a little deeper at those family workshops, which we referenced, I believe, after our first session. There's actually multiple family workshops, and if you've never looked at them, I do encourage you to take a look. But we also talked about specifically those that were directly from that ALS-PALS curriculum, which is a social emotional learning specific curriculum. And there were 3 workshops around those. One of them was fostering listening skills in your child. One is nurturing resilient children with positive expectations. And one was raising resiliency, raising strong children. So what I wanted to do is I just wanted to dig a little deeper into the format of those workshops and look at what it might look like to facilitate one of these workshops. If you've never looked at a Ready Rosie workshop, they all follow pretty much the same format. So there's going to be your learning objectives listed out. So in this particular one, the participants will be able to just describe characteristics of attentive listening, inattentive listening, and plan how they'll show their children that they are listening. The format, any materials you might need. Of course, this is assuming in-person workshop, but it could be done possibly virtually as well. All the workshops, as a reminder, have a picture of what the PowerPoint slide is. It tells you, it kind of follows this format of activity, summarize, debrief, transition. So, and they even give you, prompts on what to say. So let's go to an example. So activity, you're going to talk about listening, and they're going to practice. There's a practice section where they're doing a little activity here between the person next to them. Then there's a debrief and reflection time after they do the practice. And then there's the ask portion, then the summarize portion, and then there's usually a transition to go to the next slide. So that's the format that all of our workshops follow. If you've never taken a moment to look at the Ready Rosie workshops, I encourage you to do that. Again, this one is one of the newer ones specifically around social emotional learning. In a lot of our workshops, you'll see Ready Rosie modeled moment videos inside the workshops as well, like this one right here. There's a when you see a little picture of the video, that's going to be a Ready Rosie video that you're going to show inside the workshop as well. Has anyone had a chance to look at the workshop since we last met, or has anyone ever facilitated a workshop?
No, but I know that somebody already mentioned, Catherine already mentioned to our supervisor. So we might have to, as soon as maybe she's back, we might look into it, because these are great. I mean, they're already, you just have to facilitate them.
Exactly. All you have to do is
Mhm.
facilitate them. They're all ready for
Yes.
you. The facilitator guide is there. The PowerPoint is there. Everything's in English and Spanish for you. So absolutely, all you need to do, is pick them up and facilitate them. So they're pretty easy to follow along. Oops, resources. Again, they're in their resources under family workshops. And then there's some 10-minute versions of workshops too. But most of the 10-minute workshops are just like little bite-sized chunks of the hour-long workshops. But even some of these little 10-minute ones could really be, relevant to strengthening those social and emotional learning competencies, like positive discipline strategies. Here's one on social and emotional skills, on family roles, routines. There's some things that you could even pull from these. Let's look at this one here.
I think too, with the longer ones, if you really start to look at them, you can figure out how you can break them down into shorter sessions if you want, and present them like kind of how Melissa's broke up the social emotional into 3. If you broke it down into, 15-minute sessions or 10-minute sessions or whatever, I think it's pretty easy to do with those hour-long ones. These Give Me 10 ones are really good too. And Melissa, I just want to ask, did you guys ever touch base on the table talk discussions? Is that something that the Give Me 10s or potentially those hour-long ones could lead to on the table talk discussion? Did that ever, we had someone reach out and want to kind of talk a little bit more about having some family engagement. They called it table talk, which is table talk discussions, which was kind of new to me because I don't think we've talked about that Ready Rosie, but I also think you could, if what you were doing is grouping parents into smaller groups and presenting either the hour-long and broke up or these Give Me 10s, then have that table talk or that discussion along with it.
Yeah, I think that could definitely work. And I've if something was sent to me, I missed it. I'm sorry. But I'll go back and look for that. But this one, I just opened this little 10-minute one on the family role in building social emotional skills. And it looks like they covered those 5 competencies that we've talked about. So it kind of gives families just a quick 10-minute introduction to what those 5 competencies are, because there's very possible that a parent's never heard the word self-management or social awareness. So that's they kind of go through those. So what is it? And kind of cover each of those. Maybe this was just going over self-management, maybe. Anyway, I've never seen this one. So this might be a good resource for you as well.
Melissa showed you the manual on that. If you look next to what she had up there, that next set is the PowerPoints. So yeah. So as you're presenting, you would have your PowerPoints along with you with all of those videos embedded into the PowerPoint. So all you have to do is just click on that as you're going through the PowerPoints. You just click on your video link and it just comes right up. So it's really super easy to facilitate. Anna, like you were saying, if you guys wanted to look into that, it does make it super simple when you have that PowerPoint right there. And look, so you have it both in English and in Spanish, which is nice. So you have the ability to do it in 2 languages. And I think right now the only option is Spanish or English. There's not any other language versions available, but this is at least 2. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And I'll pull up if it'll come up the PowerPoint. It might have to open here. But yeah, I mean, they're really nicely, made. So this one is specifically on making a difference. Identify practical strategies to encourage positive behavior. Choose 3 positive behavioral strategies that you can apply. Establish a plan to help guide your child, and then practice those strategies. So that's kind of the objectives. But as Shauna said, the videos are embedded in here. Here's that. How do I stop this behavior that we just watched? Those videos. So yes. They talked a little bit about growth mindset versus fixed mindset, probably something also very new for your parents to hear those words. So they're super easy to facilitate. As someone mentioned, everything that you need is at your fingertips to facilitate them. And again, it's all in your resources tab. Any questions as we wrap up our session, or anything else you'd like me to show you within Ready Rosie on how you can support your families? I'll just say I challenge you. I'm going to extend this implementation plan to Shauna. So I do challenge you to take a few minutes when you have a moment to look through these competencies and self-reflect on areas that you'd like to improve in your classroom, or areas that you think that you could help your families and support them. And then to look through all those tools in Ready Rosie that we've covered, those research and answer videos, those modeled moment videos under the social emotional learning category, the family workshop. So look at all the tools that are available to you in Ready Rosie, and then think about how you can help your families that you support, and how you can maybe even provide yourself a little additional support if it's an area that you would like to improve.
I do want to just build on our last session where Melissa shared those teaching strategies, creative curriculum trainings. Those are on the automatic accepted childcare training list for the Nebraska Department of Ed. So if we wanted to think about like encouraging a view of one of those topics, like your own self-study, you can print your certificate. It would be utilized for childcare in service credit, already pre-approved by NDE, which is awesome. And then if you wanted, we could meet back. I could work with Melissa, and maybe we can figure out who could facilitate a discussion over specific training if we decide we want to do that, and meet. But we'll kind of hash through that a little bit and see what we can do in the next coming months. I also just want to offer up, are there any specific trainings you guys would like us to consider to participate in? Another like 3-set series sessions on a specific topic. Is there anything you guys feel like you'd like? Very quiet. Okay. Well, if something comes up, please be sure to share it with me, and I will get with Melissa, or we will get with Paula. I am not getting names right today. Patty, see what we can do, and we'll get something out there, because I do appreciate you guys being able to attend. I think our views on our recorded trainings are doing pretty decent too, so that's good. Couple things. So those of you who maybe got classroom incentives for some of your Ready Rosie use that you did a couple months ago, if you haven't gotten all of your materials, those are still shipping out. They should be shipped out by the end of this month, 1st of March. But we will be doing another round of classroom incentives. So keep your eyes open, read the emails that come from me. Oh, good, Penny got hers. So we'll kind of outline what that criteria will be. We'll probably do another like a Google Forms to report, and then we'll work with Lakeshore to send out materials, probably worth around $100 per classroom. So we're doing that, hopefully to have those all awarded in April. And then just to give you guys all a heads up, we will be transitioning the Nebraska Children Ready Rosie oversight over to another organization under Nebraska Children. So it won't be me, but I'm going to work with whoever that person is until August. So you can still communicate with me as much as you need to. I will just make sure everybody is all getting that communication. We're all on the same page, but eventually we'll be transitioning that all over. The reason is because Nebraska Children manages about 450 classrooms. Department of Ed manages up to 900, plus they're going to add more. So to make the workload more concise, we're going to give all of those classrooms to one person, and that person will manage all of the oversight for Nebraska to kind of keep everybody on the same page, which to us feels like the right way to go. But we'll transition it slowly and smoothly and make sure everybody's all going along with that transition as we're moving through that too. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Melissa, anything?
No, just appreciate your time and sticking with me. This is Teddy's specialty, not me. So I was just having to go by her notes. So appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Melissa. And I love that you went on Ready Rosie and showed where things were and showed some of those videos. I think that's really helpful.
Excellent. Well, I'll send that implementation plan to you, Shauna, and encourage you all to take some time for self-reflection and dig through those resources on your own. Find videos that you find helpful to share with your families.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Melissa. Bye-bye.
Bye.